everyone, I hope you're all doing well and thanks for being here. This video is for the Leo new moon, which is actually happening tomorrow, I think, so I've left this one a little bit late. The astrology chart is definitely showing that this is a big new moon, so there are a lot of strong energies that are playing into it this time. But anyway, we'll get started and find out what we're looking at shortly. The format's always the same. We just take a quick look at the astrology chart and then follow that with a tarot spread for the new moon. The timestamps for each section will be in the description box. We'll just do our love pause now before we start. This is where we pause the video, take a minute to intentionally send some loving energy out into the universe. This can also be done as a Ho'oponopono prayer, which is where you say the 4 sentences. Thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, and please forgive me. So we'll do the pause now and I'll see you all on the next slide. Okay, so here it is. This is our new moon chart. I personally find that the tarot and astrology can connect quite well to each other, but if astrology is not your thing, you can just skip through to the tarot section. Now, highlighted in purple are the sun and the moon, which are conjunct in Leo, and they're at 2 degrees of Leo, and so they're directly opposite Pluto, which is at 2 degrees of Aquarius. It's in retrograde. Now, I've highlighted Pluto in red, so this is a significant opposition. Now, Pluto being retrograde, I would see that as transformations happening at an internal level. And the new moon is about the beginning of a new cycle, so it might be worthwhile just checking your birth chart out if you have it to see where this opposition is taking place in terms of the houses that are involved for you. So whatever area of your life this new moon in Leo is relating to, it's being impacted by the transformation that's happening in the Aquarius area of your chart. And so just look at where those 2 degree points are. So it could be interesting. Now, because a lot of planets are in those early degrees, a lot of the outer planets in particular. That's why we're getting so many aspects on this chart. So this new moon, it's also receiving positive aspects from some of these other outer planets. So Neptune and Saturn, I've highlighted them in yellow, and they're both retrograde now, but they're in the early degrees of Aries, and that's obviously also a fire sign, just like Leo. So that's a trine aspect, which is very favorable. And then there's Uranus, which I've highlighted in green, which has just entered Gemini, and it's at 0 degrees, but that's close enough. And it's forming a sextile to both the new moon and to those planets in Aries. So, and of course, it's also in a trine with Pluto. So these are all, well, they're both in air signs, so that's an air sign trine in the same way that those Leo Aries planets are in a fire sign trine. So there's a lot of positive aspects going on, but what I'd like to point out is that we get that trapezium-shaped formation on this chart, and that's actually called a cradle in astrology. So cradles will either happen in masculine signs or in feminine signs. You can't really get them with both. So this one is obviously dealing with the masculine signs because it's in fire and air signs. And to me, with it being a masculine sign cradle, that just automatically makes me think of action because it's the masculine element that we associate with action and things becoming things being expressed or demonstrated in the physical world. So from my reading on cradles, what it sounds like is that opposition that you have between 2 of the planets in the cradle, which in this case would be the planets Pluto as well as the planets in the new moon, sun and moon. So there's pressure coming from that opposition, and it can be alleviated by moving the energy of that pressure through to the other 2 points, which in terms of this chart, we'd be talking about the 2 planets in Aries and Uranus in Gemini. So the pressure of that opposition can be moved through by moving energy in those directions. Now, the interesting thing here is that we're talking about lots of outer planets. So it's actually not something we can consciously work with easily. So because they obviously are so far away from us, they're not personal planets. So we're not really that much in a position to influence them. And I'm also seeing, because so many of these are in retrograde as well, so Pluto, Neptune, and Saturn are all in retrograde. And so, really, I'm actually looking at that Uranus and Gemini, the one that's highlighted in green. And maybe that's the one that has the ability to push its energy out in some way that has an external effect. And of course, we already know Uranus to be a very dynamic energy, and it's in Gemini, which is an air sign. So we'd see that one as a fast mercurial kind of energy. So I do feel like if there's pressure coming from this opposition, it could be that something shifts very quickly in that Gemini part of your birth chart. So check that one out as well. And obviously that is sextiling the new moon and trining the Pluto retrograde. So having a look at the chart might be interesting here. So perhaps there's this pressure in the Leo part of our chart from that opposition, and then something might happen in the Gemini part of our chart, which then will support whatever the new moon is initiating. And it's going to work harmoniously with all the other outer planets. It sounds kind of complicated, doesn't it? But yeah, I do feel like there's pressure, and then something will suddenly give, and then the pressure is relieved. So let me know if you do see something like this play out for you. It would be interesting to see in the comments if it does happen. The other thing I just noticed, though, is that Mercury is retrograde, and Mercury actually rules Gemini. So maybe that's going to actually slow things down a bit. Like maybe it won't be a very sudden give, but you'll still feel that give, but it's maybe going to be slowed down by this Mercury retrograde. Now, the only other big aspect here in this chart is that Venus is in Gemini. I've highlighted that in grey, and it's squaring the South Node and Mars in Virgo, which I've highlighted in blue, and it's also obviously going to be squaring the North Node in Pisces as well. So these are all mutable signs. The Venus and Mars square is interesting because both of these planets are in Mercury-ruled signs, because Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. So I guess the Mercury retrograde is affecting them both. And these planets obviously represent our feminine and masculine aspects. So that is interesting. They're obviously out of alignment in some way, and that's why there's this square. That's what the square would represent. So maybe this can manifest as us being indecisive and not knowing what to take action on. But it can also manifest externally, as in we disagree with people that we're in relationships with. Now, the South Node is conjunct Mars, so these conflicts might relate to things that we're moving away from. And the effect of Mars being conjunct the South Node might be an inclination to move back into something that we're meant to be moving away from, so taking action in the wrong direction, if you know what I mean. And the effect of Venus squaring the nodal axis is perhaps going to feel like we're actually unsure about which way to go. Do we go back to what we were doing before, or do we go forwards into the unknown perhaps? So these are transits. So they're not going to last for long, but I do feel like we can just have this period of inner conflict, I think. So what I think is that we should try not to get too caught up in it, because obviously the big picture of the soul's journey is that we are meant to head towards our North Node. So if there are thoughts and desires that relate to us going back to something South Node-y, maybe we just need to journal those thoughts and feelings out rather than actually making any decisions or taking any action that takes us back to something that we've just left behind. So big picturing it doesn't make sense to go back when the North Node is the direction we're actually meant to move in. And it probably doesn't help that Mercury is in retrograde, and it's the ruler of both of these parts of your chart, Gemini and Virgo. And I'm laughing because I think they say often Mercury retrograde is when the exes tend to get back in touch. And maybe that kind of thing could be playing out this time, because maybe there are some karmic South Node exes, whether these are people or experiences, that you really shouldn't be entertaining at all anymore. So watch out. See if something's from the past, that you've let go of, tries to get back in. As I said, these are transiting aspects, so these energies will pass. So I feel like we just need to hang in there and keep keep our eye on the prize, and that's the North Node. That's where the good things are. That's where we're meant to be heading. So don't surrender to the South Nodey things that want to show up. So that's interesting. But other than that, I think that's the chart covered. So the main things here are this phenomenal cradle thing going on, and this South Node Mars Venus thing going on here. So that's all we'll talk about here. I'm just going to move over to the tarot section next. Okay, here we are. This is our spread for the Leo new moon. If you're interested in the decks that I've used here, I'll have them listed in the description box. I actually think I used the same tarot deck for the last Leo new moon. I just like it. It sort of makes me think of the creativity and happiness of the happy inner child who's playing and enjoying life, which, you know, those things do relate to Leo in the 5th house that Leo rules. And so, yeah, that's the deck, and I've chosen some oracle decks that would sort of appear to complement it. But anyway, the new moon is about beginnings as well, which also obviously makes me think of us being young and you know, curious about where we're going to head, and playing with the things that come up in our lives. So that's why I've chosen this deck again. But looking at the spread, I have to say the energies that are showing up here are very mature energies. And I suspect that's reflecting the fact that there was so much going on in the astrology, especially with those outer planets all doing what they're doing. But anyway, at the bottom of the deck, we actually had 4 major arcana cards, one after the other. And then there were no major arcana cards in the main spread. So I feel like this is an experience where, from your perspective, you're just doing what you're doing, which is just getting on with your life. But in the background, there are big shifts happening in your energy and in your life. And that's what I'm seeing as showing up with all these major arcana cards in the bottom of the deck energies. You, however, are just moving through what you see as the next steps for you. Now, major arcana cards all have zodiac associations. So because they're all here, I'll just mention them all in one go. So the Hierophant card is a Taurus card. The Temperance card is a Sagittarius card. The Star card is an Aquarius card. And the Hermit card is a Virgo card. And as I said earlier, these energies are all very sort of mature, evolved energies. So I'll start working through this. The Hierophant is a spiritual teacher or leader or guide. And this card doesn't necessarily have to be about spirituality per se, but it's essentially someone who's very wise, who leads, guides, teaches others. And they're also someone who's reached a position of authority, and it's by going through the process. So they haven't skipped any steps. They started as a beginner and they did the study, they did the work, they passed the tests, they got through the challenges, they got all the work experience. So they've made it through all the levels or stages that they've needed to go through. And so they've earned their place. And this means they're essentially recognized as someone who knows what they're talking about because they're speaking from experience. And it's interesting to see a Gryphon in this image because that's actually quite a fierce energy. Like you think of... like mythologically, it's an animal or a beast that's associated with guarding things, protecting things. So it's a mythical creature, as I said. It's got the body of a lion and then the head, wings and claws of an eagle. So with this tough Gryphon energy showing up, I don't normally think of that sort of energy with the Hierophant, but I feel like this is talking about someone who is not to be messed with. So even if they seem like someone who's a teacher or a guide, you know, they're pretty tough with this Gryphon imagery. And obviously you think of the eagle's fantastic eyesight and perception, and then you think of the lion's strength and fierceness. So this is a powerful energy, and I feel like it will fight back if it's challenged. So it's not a gentle Hierophant, which is what we might normally picture. And I was just about to say that the lion and the eagle remind me of Leo in Aquarius because that's how they appear on the traditional world card in tarot. But as I was about to say that, it hit me that we actually have an opposition in those signs, don't we, with the sun and moon in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius. So that is a little bit synchronistic there. Now, Leo and Aquarius are the two masculine element fixed signs. So again, we're getting masculine energy coming up strongly because if you think back to the astrology, we had that cradle in the masculine signs as well. So this Hierophant does have strong masculine energy. And of course, that's not about a person's gender. You know, you could be male or female, but if this is resonating for you, you're this spiritual kind of leader, teacher, guide, but you're also someone who's pretty tough and has a more masculine energy to you, have a more masculine energy to you. Now, the next card in these bottom of the deck energies is Temperance, and this is an alchemist sort of card. It's about moderation, balance, and patience. So it's kind of interesting to have that contrasting with that tough Gryphon energy. So maybe there's some kind of alchemy going on with this person. So they're learning perhaps that it isn't necessary for them to be so fierce all the time. They don't have to get upset and use their energy to fight adversaries or opposition. They can actually just alchemize the energy that's being sent to them. So whatever other people try to do, they can take that energy and use it in a productive way. And that way they're not being drained of their own energy by engaging in these battles. They're basically just taking advantage of the energy that's being directed their way. So it's kind of like a shift in how they operate, perhaps. The next card is the Star card, which I'd normally see about hope, optimism, healing, recovering from something traumatic. But to be honest, this image actually just makes me think of the nursery rhyme, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And so I'm thinking of that line, like a diamond in the sky. So perhaps this is someone who is shining brightly like a diamond in the sky. But then we get the next energy, which again is contrasting with this energy. And we've got the Hermit energy, which is obviously a very solitary energy. So this is a hermit crab in this image. So just like the top two cards were contrasting a little bit, these two are a bit as well. So I feel like even though this person has this star quality where they can shine like a diamond in the sky, they're also someone who will retreat into their shell at any time. And for a hermit crab, you know, that would obviously be a defensive thing for them to do. But here, following the star card, I get the sense that we're talking about someone who comes out of their shell to do what they do. They come out and shine like a diamond, and then they just go back into their shell. And their shell could be a defense for them, but with the crab imagery, it's making me think of the zodiac sign of Cancer as well. So this could be someone who's a bit of a homebody by nature. So they're gifted at whatever they do, but their true nature is that they're a homebody. They're an introvert. They like their peace and quiet. And I'm seeing that oracle card there, which is titled Rest, and it definitely feels like this person retreats from the limelight to rest and enjoy the simple things. So when you look at this image, you know, it's like someone who's sitting out in their backyard with a cup of tea, just, you know, watching the clouds. So I'm thinking now of those celebrities that you only really see when they're promoting something, their most recent movie, or they're going on tour for their latest album or whatever. But you don't see them the rest of the time. You don't see them partying. You don't see them at fashion shows or sports matches. They sort of just come out, they do their thing, and then they spend the rest of their time, their personal time, just off in their private lives doing their own thing. So that's a strange mix of energies to get from the bottom of the deck. So we'll move through the other tarot cards and see what comes up. So the card in the past position is the Four of Pentacles. So this is someone who was operating from a very defensive energy. They were clinging to the things they have because they were afraid of taking risks. They're basically afraid of going backwards. So they were holding on tightly to things. And that was keeping them stuck in something fairly small. And I say it's stuck in something fairly small because four pentacles is actually not that many pentacles, because when you think about the pentacles, we go all the way up to the 10 of pentacles. So 4 is actually, you know, less than half of that. So it's down the lower end of the scale. It was interesting to see the 3 little birds on this hippo's back, because it reminded me of the Bob Marley song. So it's like these birds are singing, "Don't you worry about a thing, because every little thing's going to be all right." So these might be spirit guides that were telling this person that they can let go of their obsession with these 4 pentacles, they can stop trying to control the future, because every little thing's going to be all right. And then I'm seeing the connection to that love overcomes fear card. So I feel like this person did ultimately overcome their fears and start ascending this ladder that's leading to the sun. The sun in tarot is happiness. So this ascension that we're seeing on this oracle card is basically someone moving upwards vibrationally. So they're moving away from the fears that were previously holding them back, and they're moving towards things that make them happy. Now, the card in the present position is the 3 of Cups, which is about people celebrating, and it's a bit like a soul tribe coming together to celebrate. And in this image, I'm seeing that they're all butterflies. And when you think about it, butterflies, they start as caterpillars and then they have an evolution. They transform into the butterflies. So I feel like this group that's celebrating is like a soul tribe, but it's other people who have had a similar journey. They have a similar story. They've also evolved. They've also overcome their fears in order to pursue their happiness. And they've been successful. So they've successfully transformed into, I guess they might all be stars, to be honest, because of that star energy. So this is a soul tribe. They may not all necessarily do the same thing, but they've had similar journeys into stardom, is what I'm getting. And they celebrate each other's successes because they understand each other's journey quite well. They've all been through similar things. And here they are, they get together to celebrate successes. They're genuinely happy for each other. So that's a lovely energy to have in this present position. And the card in the future position is the Page of Wands. And this is a great energy because it's someone with an adventurous spirit. So when you contrast that to who they were in the past, where they were really limited and really scared, this is someone who, isn't scared. They're fearless. They follow their inspiration and passion. I tend to see the Page of Wands as a Sagittarian energy, so that could be relevant as well. Now, grasshopper, this is a grasshopper on this card, and to me, grasshoppers, they represent luck and abundance and leaps of faith. So again, it's sort of the opposite of that energy they were in before, where they were too afraid to take risks. So I do like that they've, even in the storyline here, they've transformed so much. And the other interesting thing is, again, I'm getting that star quality thing here because this grasshopper is putting on a performance. They're dancing and they're looking really confident. So that takes me back to exactly what I was saying. This is someone who is a star, someone who shines in the limelight. And then the last oracle card left is, again, taking me back to the Hermit energy. So I do feel like this person's got both these aspects to them. So in this last oracle card, we see someone diving deep, and the message here is seek hidden treasure. So I do feel like this is related to how this person tends to retreat when they're not up on stage doing their thing. And I wonder, with this imagery and the Hermit card, if this person actually perhaps uses their solitary time to introspect or dream or imagine things or understand things better. And maybe this is where they find the treasure. So the treasure is what they put into their work. So they go away, they do things on their own, they get inspired, they start creating, and then it comes out in their work. So this could be like a singer who releases an album, they do all the promotion, they do the concert tour, and then they disappear for a couple of years and it looks like nothing's happening, but then they come back with a whole new album that's full of great songs that they wrote while they were in hermit mode because they spent that solitary time sort of diving deep to find the new treasure. It doesn't have to be a singer, it could be anyone. It could be an author. It could be, I don't know if actors tend to do that because I don't know. But I was definitely thinking of someone up on a stage with that grasshopper thing, so maybe a musician. And across the top, 5 came up 3 times because we had the number 5, we had the number 14 and the number 50. And 5 is about change and transformation. And I did say that we were seeing that in the tarot cards at the bottom. So what I said at the start about this person undergoing big shifts in their life is true. even if they don't see it. So they might just feel like they're just living their life. But if they did an annual life review, for example, I think they would actually realize that their life changes a lot over the course of a year. And I guess it's like that person climbing the ladder in this central image. You know, they're, from their perspective, they're just putting one foot ahead of the other, taking the next step. But and they might not see it, but they're actually moving up through different levels as they do this. And other people might see that a lot more easily than they see that, because they're just focused on the process of living their life, if you know what I mean. And that's it. That's the end of this reading. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And that's it, we're done. This is our last slide. So if you're still here watching this video, thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed it, please give the video a like or leave a comment. And if you like the videos that I do, please consider subscribing to the channel. And a big thanks to everyone who's already subscribed. It is good to have your support. And so, yeah, I will see you all at another reading. Take care. This is a new moon, so you might want to set some intentions for the future. And that's it. So we'll see you next time. Bye.